I think the best thing I ever did was say this dream out loud to the people who care about me the most. And when you're stuck, you raise your hand.
Having someone that can be there with you to navigate that without any sort of judgment.
I'm Michelle.
And I'm Whitney. This is the Use Your Fear podcast.
Thank you. This has been
so
brainchild of mine for 5 years.
Yeah.
It came around during COVID. I started noticing how fear was leading the conversation in the media, with conversations with my family, friends, and I was just like, there has to be some way to bridge this gap. And originally it was going to be called The Shit. It was about like getting through the shit to like become the shit, basically. And my mom was like, that's a terrible idea. And I woke
thank
up.
God she pitched in on that.
I was set on that for 2 months. But my mom, I woke up one day and the words "use your fear" were just in my head over and over and over. And I couldn't figure out why. And so I Googled it, because that's what you do. And it was an Amelia Earhart quote. And it was, "Use your fear so it can take you to the other place where your courage is," or something. I'm butchering the crap out of it. But I was like, crap, this is it. This is my brainchild. Like, this is it. And I was like, surely someone has to have "use your fear" somewhere. And it was nowhere. Like, nobody has just the name "use your fear." And it was so simple. And so I immediately got the domain, and I immediately did the social media handles. And I was like, I'm taking this now. And then I bought all this stuff. And then I went to like figure out how to like plug in microphones and stuff. And I was like, this is Greek to me. Like, I have no idea how to do this. And so I would play with a little bit, and then, COVID happened. So there's enough trauma in the world. And finally, this year has been really hard on my health, actually. And so I got in touch with Whitney this year, and I was like, I have this idea, and now I really want to do it. Like, I really want to take off with it. And she goes, yeah, let's do it. And I'm like, what? And she's like, yeah, give me your stuff. And she started setting stuff up, and she's my chaos. Like, she's always been there to like help me decorate my apartments, and because I'm too afraid to put a nail in a wall. And so she's the reason why it's actually here. I'm like, I couldn't have done this without her. So, all right. So welcome to the Use Your Fear podcast, where we take everyday people that are in our lives and showcase their story and dive into who they are as a person. Today we actually have a doctor in the house. And but first we're going to start with High Low Buffalo, where Whitney and I are going to talk about our highs, lows, and unexpected shenanigans.
Buffaloes.
And Whitney, you're going
Listen,
first.
No. I went first last time. You have to go first this time, ma'am.
That's bullhorn. Okay. Let's see.
You weren't ready. You weren't ready. I knew
I wasn't ready. My high is I just found out that my disability payment, I've been on leave, and that has officially approved. So that was a big high for me in my bank account. So that was great. And then my low was, what is my low? I probably turning on the computer and having we had some technical issues earlier where she couldn't even hear me. And so it was like scrambling to get ready before you even came on, so we look smooth, like we know what we're doing. But I just blew the lid on that. So, and then my buffalo is reading through Owais's stuff, like your profile, your experience. I've worked with you as Texas Tasty and didn't even know this other side of you as a doctor. And that has been really fun to stalk everything about your life. Okay, Whitney, how about you?
All right. My high and my low and my buffalo. I would say my high is I slept in today. I slept till like 8 o'clock. That never happens. I'm up at like 5 and I slept in and it was beautiful. My low was as soon as I got up and had a cup of coffee, I wanted to go back to sleep. And I would say, I guess my other low would be is that my summer vacation is coming to an end and school is about to start back up. Wah, wah. And my buffalo. Buffalo, I am going to Utah for Thanksgiving. We're going to go have Thanksgiving with my old madre. So we're going to go up there and hopefully have some nice cooler weather. I'm already looking forward to it and ready to get out of this heat wave. Every summer we say, why do we live in Texas?
Anyway, so our guest today built a foodie empire during college, and now he is saving lives in the ER. You know him, you know his blog or viral Instagram, Texas Tasty, but there is so much more to his story. And that's what we're going to dive in today. We're going to know the man behind the account and the white coat.
So today's episode is titled The Texas Tasty Doctors in, a conversation on creativity, courage, and care. So Owais, welcome to the show. We're very excited to have you.
Thanks for having me. That's a really cool title. I feel like it makes my life cooler than it probably is, but excited to be here and talk about all the things.
Before we start, do you want to we gave you a small introduction. Do you want to give an introduction to yourself? Anything that we
like
missed?
Your elevator speech?
Stuff? Yeah.
Yeah. So I mean, I would say I probably in my mind divvy up my life into kind of three parts. So one is the practicing medicine part, which I do, 10 to 12 shifts in the ER, which is pretty close to full time. Full time is maybe like 13 to 15, but that's kind of one big chunk of my life. Second big chunk of my life is Texas Tasty, which I like to frame as kind of food, pop culture, sports, and travel all across Texas. And so that obviously includes social media channels, website, podcasts, things of that nature. I've had three other folks that kind of help me run that. I get to do less of the tasting part and more of the businessy side of things on that. But yeah, that's still a lot of fun and gets me into some exciting things. And then the third kind of large part of my life, I would say, is STEM advocacy. And so STEM stands for science, technology, engineering, math. And that includes, I serve on like various committees, various boards. I have like a TV show in Houston that's around STEM, and just figuring out ways to get, young folks interested in the sciences and everything, and then finding ways to kind of make those careers sustainable, because they are very like, high pressure jobs, or there's a lot of burnout. How do we kind of eliminate those things and have people that want to go into those careers? And so that's probably the third bucket of my life. And then and then I play a lot of golf in my spare time. There's not a lot of spare time, but when I do have spare time, I love playing golf. I'm like a 80-year-old man when it comes to my hobby.
That's awesome. My husband is an 80-year-old man, or he thinks he is, because he plays a lot of golf too. So you guys would have fun for sure.
My husband does disc golf. Does that count?
If you ask a golfer, they would say no. But I say whatever makes you happy, you should do it.
That was his way of saying bless your heart.
Yeah, no, I heard it. I heard it. I'm gonna tell him.
So I want to jump into Texas Tasty. That's how I know you. We worked together for the restaurant brand that I've been a part of, on a VIP event in particular, where it was like a VIP experience at the rodeo. It was really fun to have you there, because we had multiple influencers there, and they brought their friends, and you brought your mom. It was the cutest thing ever. I know. So she was the sweetest lady. But I definitely want to get into the story of how did Texas Tasty come about, and how did it evolve. So take it away.
Yeah, absolutely. My mom still talks about that, by the way. So thanks for making that possible because she had an amazing time and it was very memorable for her. But yeah, so Texas Tasty for me started at UT Austin. I went to the University of Texas, and I was actually running for student government. And I was like trying to figure out a way how do I get my name out there? And so you obviously like post flyers up all around campus. Back then, Facebook pages were a thing. Made a Facebook page. I was like, there's got to be some like more way to like get traction. And Instagram was kind of newish at that time. I think it came out around 2011, 2012, around then. So it was maybe like two years old around then. But I was like, okay, I should create an Instagram too. And so all across these social media pages, what I would do is post about like free stuff happening around campus. So like, hey, this group has like a free pizza if you show up to their meeting, or there's like free t-shirts if you show up to this thing. And the idea was like, hey, people associate this as like a resource, but then it's my account and they'll like, hopefully vote for me. And so I'd like sneak in like, hey, vote for me for the student government position I'm running for. I lost the election. But by the end of it, yeah, yeah. But I had I think like 5,000 followers or something on Instagram,
You
which
would
back
have
then
had
that's a
my
lot of
vote.
followers.
Yeah, mine
Yeah.
too, for sure.
Thank you. Thank you. Um, that means a lot. But yeah, no, I was like, I had like 5,000 followers, and I had like some followers on Facebook and whatnot. But I was like, oh, that's like a lot of followers. It's still even a lot of followers. Like I feel like if you have like a normal person with 5,000 followers, they're like, oh, you must be doing something that's beyond like posting family pictures or something, right? And so, but around that time, like a restaurant around campus was like, hey, we'll give you a free meal if you come and post about it and whatnot. And I was like, wait, what? As like us, basically most college kids are starving and don't have a lot of money to go out and eat out. And you're like, I could get free food based on like this account. Like there's like some value here. And so that happened like maybe like 2 or 3 times over the course of like 4 months, right? And I was like, oh, this is really cool. And my goal was just to keep getting free food. And so I kept posting just to obviously, keep it active. And then maybe like 8 months into it, 9 months into it, the following had kind of gradually grown, and another restaurant had reached out that time saying, "Hey, we'll give you like a gift card, and free food." And I was like, "Oh, wow, there's more value exchange here." But that was the start of like, okay, there's something where people value like the number of followers you have. Businesses value that. And I was always like business minded. I was the kid who would like on Black Friday would buy like stuff and then flip it on eBay and like make pocket money that way. And so I was always like a business minded person. It's like, okay, there must be a way to like charge these businesses now, right? It's going beyond free food. And so the first like quote unquote brand deal was like for a local restaurant that paid me $100. I was like, this is like the coolest thing ever. And so then I started to become like more regimented about it, like, hey, posting at least 3 times a week, and finding like actively reaching out to businesses myself saying, hey, would you want to like give me free food or advertise on this page or do whatever. And so fast forward like 2.5 years or so, had more followers and had kind of had a few more kind of localish brand deals. And so that was like, okay, I'm going to take this more seriously. Now obviously the trick was, or it became tricky when I went to med school. And in med school you're insanely busy and you don't have time to barely eat and sleep and do all those things. And so I had some really, really long days where I would sleep maybe 3 or 4 hours only just because I would still want to maintain Texas Tasting. I was in Oklahoma for med school, which made it even more complicated because like, how do I like find what's happening in Texas or post about Texas related things when I'm not physically there? And back then it was just still me, right? And so my brother thankfully was at UT Austin around that time. So he would like funnel me things happening around Austin, or like if we got invited to like some type of event, I'd be like, hey, could you go? That kind of thing. And kind of continued with it, and eventually got to a point where it's like, okay, at this point, obviously we're having like more substantial brand deals, and they're bringing in like real money, and so I could hire someone part time and kind of slowly grow it. I would say for me, one of the other realizations was like, okay, there's lots of social media pages with lots of followers. How do I set Texas Tasty apart? And so for me, that decision was like, okay, A, doing more than food, B, creating a website around it, like, you know, and having different sections and travel guides and things of that nature. And then having like more of a media component. So creating some longer form content, having a podcast that we have, and kind of making it into like a mini media brand rather than just like an Instagram page, which, you know, now there's like every city has like amazing food bloggers, and there's so many. And I'm so glad I made that decision, where a lot of the other folks that are up and coming, like I think if like I'm in a meeting with a brand, it's like, hey, we have these other things that you can advertise on, or there's these other things we can do versus, you know, just creating a reel or a TikTok and whatnot. So I would say, as I kind of alluded to in the intro, we obviously still have food, but we kind of have pop culture section. So we'll do album reviews and concert reviews and things of that nature. We'll do travel guides, and then anything that is like, you know, culture related. So like the World Cup's like a big thing, right? That's coming to Texas next year, creating guides around that, creating longer form content around that, what people coming into Texas may not know about Texas culture, and sharing that with them, and then vice versa. You know, we're trying to figure out, hey, where most people going to come from. Obviously, Latin America and Mexico is probably going to be at the top of the list, but like maybe Japan has a match here, and there's going to be a bunch of like, you know, Japanese people. Like what Japanese restaurants could they go to? And so always trying to find ways to connect, you know, larger themes to Texas. But yeah, that's Texas Tasty in a nutshell. I would say, as I kind of alluded to, I kind of mostly focus on tons of emails, meetings, and whatnot. But if there's something like, so I'm a huge Formula One nerd. If there's like, we're getting VIP passes to Formula One in Austin, I will have dibs on those. I'm going to that. I will be that person. And so if it's anything that's sports related, or like you had mentioned, like rodeo, like stuff that's like really cool, kind of one-off things, I'll go to. But the bread and butter, like we obviously still do tons of restaurant reviews. Usually I'm not going to those because for health reasons, because eating out every day would probably not be good for my health. And then there's other stuff on my plate too. But yeah.
Okay, I have a question. So many questions. So I'm a chef. I love food. My husband and I, we've always been in the service industry. So my first question is, what's the best thing that you have gotten to eat just from this experience of Texas Tasty? Like, is there anything that just you're like, this was the best? I need it every day of my life. Even
You're putting him on the spot already.
Yeah,
I am.
He's like, who's gonna be mad at me?
No, I actually have a good answer. So in Austin, actually, so have you been to KG Barbecue?
Yes. I have not yet. Okay.
So KG Barbecue has lamb chops, and they are like, I could literally eat those every day. It would, if I for some reason was on death row, which will never happen, but that would be my last meal for death row. Yeah, you have to go to KG Barbecue, try the lamb chops. They are like
the lamb chops.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
My mouth is already watering thinking about them. I love lamb chops. Dang it. Man.
Well, you'll have to just come out to Austin and we'll go get some.
That's what we're doing, and then we'll tag Texas Tasty for sure and be like, thanks for
the. Or you can come out too. We'll all go together.
Oh, there's that too. There's more collaboration down the road. From your account, I've actually learned more about the food culture scene. I'm a foodie nerd. I love restaurants. I've been in the restaurant industry for over 20 years, and I've learned so much just from your account. Like, I've even screenshotted things that are happening in San Antonio or Austin or Dallas to friends, and the way you stay informed and you know what your followers want and are looking for, it's just genius. And you've helped me a few times on researching. I'm like, what's going on around this weekend? I'm like, what is Texas Tasty saying? But you've also shown like different Texas brands. Like, I feel like you showed, was it Troy Aikman's beer, and then Alex Bregman's salsa or something. What was it? Yeah.
My husband was jealous that you got to meet Bun B.
Oh yes.
Yes.
Yeah, he was like, you tell him I'm jealous, and I go, I will. Don't worry.
Yeah, he's yeah, all of those are really, really cool people. And that's kind of one of these little mini series we do. We call it passion projects. And every celebrity almost, I feel like in 2025 has something, right? Like a wine brand or a beer brand or something. And what I realized was that whenever they're promoting that thing, they're the most open to saying yes to an interview. Like they will say yes like 90% of the time because they really want to get it out there. It's their passion project. They want it to succeed. And so if I reach out to Bun B just out of nowhere, saying, "Hey, can you do my podcast?" You'd probably be a no, but like, "Hey, can we do it at Trill Burgers?" And we're gonna like plug Trill Burgers and talk about your burger company. That's like, "Oh yeah, 100%," and you're gonna be excited about it. And so that was like a realization because I like all these late night shows, right? Like these
Yeah.
legends, Colbert, and all these guys. Like all those guests are there because they're promoting something. They probably don't want to be there and travel from wherever they're traveling for. And so that was the things like, hey, there's a lot of cool people in Texas that are really proud of being affiliated with Texas, and they may be launching a brand or having something to sell. And so let's use that as getting that interview and then chatting with them. But yeah, those are just kind of pinch me moments. Or like, what's this nerdy kid doing with Bun B or whatever the case may be.
I love that you started that passion project. Like, how did that develop for you? Just because you're right, like, getting people that have the small project, everyone does have something nowadays, like they will say yes, but how did that just pop in and say, we're going to create this?
Yeah, for me, it's and from early on, it was always like, how do I make Texas Tasty different than what the other kind of brands and things and influencers out there are? And I selfishly, similar for like some of the science stuff I do, I love the Astros. So it's like, hey, how can I do something maybe not with Astros, but with Alex Bregman kind of, and he's was a pivotal part of the Astros. And so it was always and then making the realization that not everything when you initially do it is going to have like a ROI right that second. Because I think a lot of I listen to a lot of business podcasts, and it's human nature to say, "Hey, I'm going to do this, and I want this type of return on doing that." But it's always thinking with like, "Hey, I'm going to do something that's going to provide some type of value, hopefully, to the audience, or make something cool that will be entertaining." And maybe like the first few episodes is, it's not going to make me any money. It'll be something that we spend money on, and then maybe we get a sponsor at some point, and then it becomes this, thing that actually is ROI positive, but at the same time still creating cool content. And so I think that was like or that's the human nature hurdle of when you're starting something or like a mini project, or it costs money to hire a camera crew and get editing and travel to Austin to do an episode on barbecue or whatever the case may be. But in the long run, those things I feel like have paid off. And then even if the series itself maybe at some point it gets sponsored but doesn't get sponsored later on, that's still okay, because then other like one-off brand deals you may be doing around just social collaborations and whatnot, they see that, hey, you did something with like an A-lister in sports or music or whatnot, and they want to be affiliated with that, even if it's something as simple as like being the thumbnail next to that brand or person or whatever the case may be. So I think just thinking big picture, and sometimes it's hard because you want to think about like, hey, this month what were the ROI positives and negatives, but you have to force yourself to think of it from a brand perspective, which is not always easy.
I want to get into a little bit of maybe the fear side too. So, because we're talking about use your fears. So you've created this amazing platform to help just keep the education of what's going on in Texas, like our local, our near, our, the things that are here to the community. And as you've said, you've gotten to interview some A-listers and stuff like that of things that they're doing. It's got to be nerve-wracking bringing on somebody that you're sitting there with and you're like, oh crap, I don't belong here. Like, what was that like? And like, how did you move through that?
Yeah, So and we'll obviously maybe get into this later on, like my day job being an emergency medicine physician, I think that helps me in a way in that I see people literally like dying every single day, right? Which is tough and brutal. And so you realize that anything for me, like anything I go into where like, yeah, it's right. When you're sitting down with a A-lister and they have like their entourage and people and whatnot, it can be intimidating, and it is a lot of times. But then I always compare it to like, hey, what's the worst thing that is possible, right? And it's like people dying and dealing with cancer and these really, really tough things. I'm like, compared to that, this is like a joke. This is a privilege. This is the fact that I get to do this is like, an amazing thing. Like I have nothing to be nervous about compared to what like true hardships are in life. And when people are actually dealing with those things, and a lot of times those people are putting on a brave face and powering through those things. And so I think for me, it's always like flipping to like a really opposite thing, which may sound weird, like, hey, why are you thinking of like death and whatnot, but it puts things in perspective for me, where it's like, hey, if I fumble this interview or it doesn't go great or this person judges me and whatnot, like, hey, whatever, I'm going to walk out and I'm still going to have a good life and drive home and everything's going to be great. And so I always split to the complete opposite. And yeah, so that's how I deal with it. It's just like, how bad could it go? Like I'm still gonna walk out of here alive.
You're an expert
He's
reframer.
equally as
I like
more.
it.
He's equally as morbid as I am. Love it. There's been a few times where we've talked about something, I go immediately to death, and I'm like, I think I have something wrong with me if that's where I'm going. So
You're like,
I mean, I think it's
yes.
like it's like a secret. There's and I use it in this way, but there's and I'm sure you may have run into maybe like a bigger personality, business personality, Gary Vaynerchuk. He creates a lot of social online content, and that's his thing. He's like, if I wake up and I look at my phone and like the closest loved ones that are important to me are alive and they don't have some terrible thing that happened to them, if I'm fine, like everything else is gonna be okay. And I think that we live in a very privileged society where we have a lot of access to a lot of things, whether it's entertainment or money or whatever the case may be, and we forget how hard life can be, like even in a country that south of our border or wherever the case may be. And so just reframing in that way gives you so much perspective, or it gives me perspective.
Where did you learn that? Like, did you grow up in a family that reminded you of that every day, that you had those conversations with your family, or did you experience something? Like, where did that come from? Have you always been calm, cool, and collected? Like,
No, it definitely came from, so I was born here. My parents immigrated here from Pakistan, and so we would go back every summer, like maybe from when I was in second grade through like 10th grade, 11th grade. So every summer I spent in Pakistan, and just literally seeing first cousins that just don't have the things that I have, and them still being happy and like very excited about their lives, which I'm glad they are excited about their lives. But then me realizing that I literally have zero excuse to not be excited and not embrace every single opportunity I have, because like literally by the luck of the draw I could have been born there, and there's no way that my life would have any of these things that I have in them. And so just seeing that and seeing how there's that version of that all across Asia and Africa and so many places. And so that I think that's where it set in from, where I was just very thankful for the luck of being born here.
Yeah. It's that's, they always call it the American dream, right? And
yeah,
that's so how long had your parents immigrated before they had you, or did you have brothers and sisters? Is everybody born here?
Yeah, I have one brother. We were both born here. I think my dad was moved here in 79. My mom came in 85, and then I was born in 91. So they've been here a couple years. Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah.
And you guys are obviously close, because I got to meet your mom already.
Yeah.
And how often do you guys do things as a family? Are you still really tight knit? What does that look like?
Oh yeah, like my brother's like by far my best friend. Like we probably text each other like 10 times a day about everything. Our interests are like the same, basically, whether it's sports or TV shows or whatever the case may be. And so we're texting constantly about stuff. And then I see my parents at least like 2 or 3 times a week, kind of like and they're kind of on the way to where I work. So I'll either stop by after work or probably on the phone with them at least, once every other day, that kind of thing. So yeah, very tight knit.
Like that. I didn't even realize you were in Houston because this whole time I thought you were in Austin. So I'm like, if you're in town, like, and you were always in town when I reached out.
I go to Austin a lot. But no, I live in Houston, but I go to Austin a lot for, Texas Tasty related stuff. My brother lives there. And so there's always a reason to go. And then of course, Texas football games are in the fall, and I try to go to as many as possible. So yeah.
I'm a big Longhorn fan.
Yes.
If my 10-year-old was in here with you, he would be doing that too. So
yeah,
I was like, do I have an OU hat anywhere I could wear? I won't do that.
So,
you know what? I honestly don't follow it anymore. I'm like, whatever. Like if he wants to go to the University of Texas, I'm totally happy with that. It's a good school for science.
It's very grown up of you, Whitney. So what would you recommend to like new influencers? Case in point here. Creatives trying to build meaningful. Tell us your secrets. How would you build a meaningful
How do we do
platform?
this?
Yeah.
So I think like two things. One, I think there's certain things that look cool or sound cool, and then there's the second category of stuff that's useful. And so I've personally like definitely fallen into a trap of like, like obviously, like I give that example of Formula One, right? Like you go there, you create content, it's going to be cool content, it looks amazing, people will watch it, but it's not really useful to anyone, right? It's not providing any value. Now obviously you post stuff like that because you get invited and you show the brand love and whatnot, but I think like the majority of the content that I put out there, and this applies for like my medical social media stuff as well, is it useful? Like when someone sees it, will they act on it? And so like, sharing a restaurant and like sharing their menu, and that's useful, right? Like they'll be like, oh, this new place, I haven't checked it out, it's this new neighborhood, versus like going to like a cool concert and posting about that. Yeah, like it happened already, it was cool, good for you, but it's not really helping me. And so leading with, stuff that helps people and kind of obviously makes it useful. And then the second thing is finding the platforms that are still growing. So like the mismatch of content versus content, the audience side. And so Instagram is obviously very saturated, and there's more content than there are users. And so of course, there's probably many examples of some account in, some vertical that opened last month and that has hundreds of thousands, if not millions of followers. There's the all stars that obviously exist, but that's probably not going to be the majority of people's experience. And so finding platforms that have that mismatch of audience. And so I think TikTok is still at that place where obviously it's probably one of the largest platforms, one or two, but it's still got probably not as much content. And then even if it does, their algorithm is made in a way, and they're all moving towards this, where the audience size doesn't matter, but if you post something that's good, it'll kind of still go viral and still go to people that are not following you and be shown to non-followers. And so finding those platforms that favor that and growing on there, and then trying to get those users, audience members to your other platforms. But like I kind of alluded to, Instagram's obviously moving towards that. Every platform is moving towards that, where they're going to show your content to, folks that don't follow you. And if it's good enough, they'll interact with it, and then it'll kind of be shown to a larger pool, and hopefully you can get traction. But I think keeping those two things in mind is what I would recommend to someone starting out.
For sure. With Texas Tasty and the growth that you had there, and then you become a doctor, how the less, I'm sure there's lessons learned from Texas Tasty that you actually took into becoming a doctor. And not only that, like you're an ER doctor, you're there, 10 shifts a month, and you also are a host of KPRC STEM City, and you also travel all over the world. You were just in Amsterdam recently. So how does Texas Tasty, how did that evolve into what you do now? Did that enhance your outreach in media and whatever you do as a doctor?
Yeah, 100%. So I think from Texas Tasty, I learned, and I'm sure you've, through your work, kind of seen examples of this where, there may be like a restaurant that's closing or not doing great, and then like one influencer will go there and post about it, and then they'll have lines out the door and it saves their business. And so I realized that a lot of times we think of like the online world as separate than the physical world, but that obviously isn't the case. Like stuff that happens there, whether it's, a restaurant or medical information or politics, it's the same. It's where we live in a world where the physical and digital world impacts each other. And so I obviously saw examples of those, and I realized that that is true through the Texas Tasty lens. But then I realized, hey, of course, that's true in the medical world as well, where, if there's some wellness influencer or someone pushing something that's bad for you or bad information, people are going to act on it. And unfortunately, bad things are going to happen. They're going to end up in my ER, in our hospitals and whatnot. And so finding, and how do we fight that? Like you can't shut their account down. What you can do is battle it and counteract it with good information. And so that's what inspired me, because I was obviously, I would say I probably started creating social content for medicine more seriously maybe 4 years ago, like right after the pandemic, right when it was kind of in its height. And I realized that, hey, I learned all these skills in the Texas Tasty world. I should apply them to my actual job. I still think of myself as like a doctor first, my actual job. And I'm trying to help like one patient at a time here in the hospital, but I could potentially help 100 people, 500 people, however many see a video, and hopefully ease frustrations, counteract bad information, and same perspective, right? Hopefully someone sees that video, it's helpful to them, and creates some type of value. And so that's why I decided to kind of start doing media and social media in the medical world, and that was the initial start. Now the start of all of that was in residency when so in San Antonio is where I did residency, and we were at a medical conference in New York City in February 2020. So like literally a week before the world shut down.
Yeah.
And myself and the two other people that went to that conference, we went there, we traveled back to San Antonio. I was on shift the next day. And like, I still remember it like yesterday, like mid shift, I was like, hey, it's kind of cold here today, isn't it? I put my jacket on. And by the time I got home, I had a 104 fever, I had chills. And we were, long story short, the first 3 confirmed COVID positive cases in San Antonio. And so back
Your
then,
fault.
like,
I'm just kidding.
yeah, we brought it back to Texas. But what happened was, so like if you remember back then, now they're like, oh, if you have COVID, put a mask on and go to work. Back then it was like a full 15-day quarantine, and everything was intense. And so like 5 days into this, I'm going to start crazy in my apartment. I'm like, I'm just going to start tweeting like public health stuff, because back then like people are saying like some crazy stuff, and I was like, yeah, why you should wash your hands, why you shouldn't interact with other people if you have COVID, stuff like that. And some news producer side, and they're like, hey, you want to come on our like news channel and talk about this? I was like, sure. And then I guess they all watched each other's show. So I got to a point where in COVID, I was like on 3 to 5 like media channels, like you'd name it, CNN, BBC, MSNBC, like a week just talking about COVID. And I was like, how did this happen? But through that, I became more comfortable being in front of the camera for the medical stuff, and became comfortable with like, hey, if they ask you a question that you have no idea about, because they do that, right? How to like circle around that, and how
Gotcha.
to not say I don't know the answer, but not give them some wrong answer as well. And so got comfortable with traditional media, translated that into social media. And then of course, through the Texas Tasty stuff, I'd learned how to post, what works, what doesn't work, what time you should post, all the basics and everything. And yeah, that's how it kind of influenced me creating media content in the medical world and science world.
So COVID is what set you off for the medical content. That's
and until then, I hadn't done any medical content at all.
Who was the first like TV station or channel that reached out to you?
It was Cheddar. I don't even know if they exist. It was like I think
remember Cheddar.
Yeah, they were like on various streaming platforms. They had a website, and they may not exist. So many of those streaming ones have gone away. But I was on Cheddar, and then the next one was what was it? I think it was like News Nation or something. And then after that, MSNBC reached out, and I was like, what life am I living? And I was like actually super nervous before that. That's probably like the most nervous I've been, because I was like, oh my God, like actual politicians watch this and powerful people watch this. What if I say something wrong? And but yeah, no, now now it's I still do those things from time to time, and now it feels like secondhand nature, but I used to be so nervous before those.
How do you prep? Like, I feel like there's a rev up that you like in your head. You're like, okay, I have my talking points. I'm ready to go. And then you have it, and it's like a whirlwind. It happens so fast, and then you kind of like afterwards. I get a high afterwards where I'm just like, yeah. So like,
Yeah.
and then I can't sleep. So like, how do you prep for that? And do you still have this? It sounds like it's now like an old glove. Like it's not a big deal to just jump onto a news station and knock out an interview. But what was that prep like in the early days, and what is it like now?
Yeah, so it was really, obviously I would use my training, so I know the basics of like, what a vaccine does or what a virus is and things like that. And then just doing a lot of reading. And so obviously, they would say, hey, we have this new guidance on this thing or this new antiviral medication, whatnot. And literally like reading through like the 30-page document where why they approved it, what the research studies look like, what the trials look like, where the outcomes being, over exaggerated, or no, they're actually like actual good outcomes. And the thing is with like you all may be familiar with research study, because like you turn the TV on for any medication, they'll be like, oh, that showed a 30% reduction in this and that. But there's like good studies and bad studies, and like getting the skill of how do you know what a good study is and a bad study, and becoming very comfortable at that. And so yeah, it was something that would required, for like literally an interview that would be 4 minutes, 5 minutes on a network, I would prepare for like 3 hours. And now it's become, once again, you realize how you can do it quicker, you become more comfortable at it, you also become more comfortable with like, hey, if I don't know it all, that's okay, I'm not going to give them a wrong answer, but I can kind of restructure my answer into the thing I'm comfortable talking about, and kind of talk about that. And so, but yeah, before and during residency, it's like 80-hour work weeks, right? So
Yeah.
and so yeah, residency was insane because obviously I'm still trying to doing the Texas tasting. I'm doing the
Yes.
80-hour work weeks, and then I had like this media thing on the side as well. So
We talked earlier before we started recording that you compartmentalize things. So like, I know a lot of people have struggled with burnout, me included. What boundaries or systems do you have in place to avoid that?
yeah, so during residency, I mean, I would say I didn't balance it. You just don't sleep as much, and you try to do as much as possible. And I think that is like kind of a like with society talks about, like balancing it and having it all, but I think a lot of times it's just unrealistic, and we have to be true to ourselves and know that you're not going to be able to do that at every single point in your life. There's going to be times where you have to make sacrifices, and if you want the things that are on your like vision board and whatnot. And I realized that like the media stuff I was doing, it's led to an insane amount of opportunities in the medical world that wouldn't exist if I hadn't done it. But I made a sacrifice at that time to position myself as someone who does go in the media. And it wasn't easy as well, because like I would have like my bosses, my attending physicians that were training me, like I could tell like a lot of them were supportive, but some of them would have that like, hey, you're a trainee, like why are you on CNN, and like I know more than you, why is this the case? So there's like one instance where I had like a conversation where it was like very confrontational. And so just powering through that, kind of living in your own world and saying like, hey, these are my goals, I'm going to do it, as long as you're not explicitly going against someone's like, hey, you shouldn't do this, and still doing it. But I survived through it. And then now it's much easier to balance, just because obviously I'm not in training. I work 10 to 12 shifts a month, which, if they're night shifts, then like the next day is a wash and you're tired and whatnot. But it's still not working as much as 80 hours a week. And so now I think my superpower, secret power is I can very compartmentalize these different things. And so if I'm at work, I don't even think about Texas Tasty or any of these other things. It's literally the patient in front of me, doing the best for them, kind of making sure that they get the best care that they need. And the nice thing with emergency medicine is you're never on call. You don't have like patients that you see in clinic or anything. It's like once you leave, you're done. And so when I leave, I do have this, I like to say, like a superpower where I never think about work. And so I see a lot of tough things, but thankfully I don't bring them home with me. I don't think about them. And when I'm in a meeting about getting some real sponsored or whatnot. Like that's all I think about. I'm not like traumatized by what happened yesterday at work or anything like that. And then the STEM stuff is easy. For that, a lot of times I am interacting with kids and whatnot, and they're always excited, they're always high energy, and you're like, hey, that was me, having these dreams and aspirations. And sometimes you don't think of what you're doing as cool or as looked up to, and but you're like, oh wow, these kids are asking me about like emergency medicine and what can I fix a cat, and or what if a cat got a cut or whatnot. It's like, no, that's not what I do, but if you got a cut, then we could do this or that. And they're so curious about it, and I'm like, okay, this is cool. Like they're interested in what I'm doing. It's cool, and it makes me look at it through that different perspective. And so yeah.
If you need some intense questions from a 10-year-old boy, I have that 10-year-old boy for you.
Brilliant.
Awesome.
He has theories about how Pluto was put together and the solar system and all kinds of things. So
I did a thing for like first grade teacher invited me to speak to her class, and it was about like STEM stuff and STEM City and whatnot. And it's funny that like they'd be like, oh, we saw you did an episode about NASA. How do you make a rocket? And because they're just like, oh, you were like
yeah,
in this NASA thing, so you must know everything. And then I'm like just trying to like piece together. I can't be like, hey, I don't know, because they're like young kids who want some type of answer. So then I was just like piecing together like, hey,
yeah.
there's like fuel and it burns and it leads to force going this way. I'm like, man, my physics teachers would not be impressed.
How did the show come about at KPRC? And I know like you do more than just medical information for STEM. You do it all. So how did that all come about?
Yeah, so during all the COVID news hits I did and still do, I got hate mail, right? So I would get hate mail saying, "Oh, you're just a pharma shill, or you're just peddling the company line, or whatever the case may be." And thankfully, once again, I have really thick skin, did not affect me whatsoever, but it did make me question, like, yeah, it's interesting why people are acting this way, right? And I don't really know the answer to that. Most people don't know the answer to that. There's a million reasons. But my kind of what I set on was, I think as a society, we've gotten away from thinking of each other as humans and putting labels on everyone, right? Left or right, or you work for this company, or you're in this state. And we just label everything that exists in that realm as like good or bad. And that's all. You dehumanize, you don't think of people as humans. And so my thing was like, hey, maybe if we, because there's this stat, right? If your doctor tells you to get a vaccine, you usually trust them, you usually get the treatment. But if you have like a national public health official tell you to get it, the trust level is like almost non-existent. You think they're out to get you. You think they have some other motive. And so it made me realize that, hey, when a human's in front of you and you have that relationship, we trust that and we use our instincts, and that relationship's different. And so I felt like STEM, and this may exist in other parts of society, but STEM in general fell into that trap of like, we've moved away from humans, and we're talking about like health organizations or tech companies or these mass conglomerates, and we've gone away from like the humans that power them, right? Where there's a lot of negative conversations around AI and technology, but my best friend in college works in that space, and he's not out to get me or design an algorithm to like get rid of my job. And so telling those stories, now obviously all these conversations are nuanced, there's bad actors in every place, I'm not saying I'm naive, but I think telling more of those stories. And so that's where that idea came from, where a lot of young people maybe see what's happening in the news and in STEM, and they're turned off by it. So creating like human examples of the people that actually work in STEM. And then we've had a shortage of people going into STEM for my entire life, and it's particularly bad amongst women and minorities. They have an interest in STEM, and then when they get to like 12th grade or college, that interest drops drastically. And a lot of that is they don't see themselves in the jobs being portrayed. And so this idea was, hey, let's find this show where we find a STEM individual doing something really cool. And so maybe you have an interest in medicine, but you don't want to work in a hospital. Maybe you love professional football and you want to use medicine in professional football. Those people exist. Maybe you love engineering, but you don't want to work for an oil company in Texas. Maybe you want to use that to create a rover that will goes to the Mars or the moon or whatever the case may be. That job exists. And so finding STEM individuals that look like America, so people from all walks of life, connecting that to something cool. So young people are going to want your 10-year-old son hopefully wants to watch some of these episodes because they're cool, right? They have fighter jets and NASA and
Oh
cars.
yeah.
And so giving them like the cool content and then giving them the veggies of like, hey, this is a career that you could potentially pursue, and connecting all of that. And so basically I pitched this actually at the time I saw PBS was having a pitch competition, pitch it to them, didn't get selected, but they were like, hey, this is a great idea, might be great for local TV. And they connected me with KPRC, and thankfully they were interested. And so that's a once a month kind of show we do. It's about 20 minutes, and it's connecting a STEM individual to something really cool, and then connecting a pathway. And hopefully through that process, we're showing that whether it's the US Navy or whether it's NASA or whether it's, electric vehicles, there's humans that are our neighbors, that these people look like us, they act like us, and they get to do these cool jobs. And maybe it interests some young people to do those jobs as well.
Since my son was, 3, he's always wanted to be a scientist. And so for maybe 4 years in a row, he was a scientist for Halloween. And any time he got to dress up at school, he had his lab coat on and stuff. So one of the big things I'm always trying to explain to him, and it's definitely, he's taken it to now, is expanding what the world of science is. Like his uncle is a doctor as well. And I'm like, your uncle is a scientist. His grandfather was an engineer. I'm like, your Goompa was a scientist. And explaining to him the science isn't just this little thing. It's so much. There's so much to it. And I love that you're showcasing that to everybody. I think it's so important. So sorry, I just had to say that.
Yeah, no, when we have when I'm talking about this, I get excited, right? Like the fact that you guys are sitting hundreds of miles away. Michelle, you're not that far away, but still far away, and we're able to talk. This is all brought by technology and the internet and these really, really cool things. And scientists made that happen. 20 years ago, this would have been if someone described what we're doing right now, impossible, or they'd be like, you're just making stuff up, or this is sci-fi, and just everything, right? The cell phone, or what the shirt that I'm wearing, the science that goes into making sure that it's durable and it can be washed, and there's so much that happens, and I just want to know about all of it. Of course I can't, but I think no matter what you like in life, whatever you're interested in, there's science that powers that thing, and there's a career that exists for that thing. And I think so much of science traditionally has been try to fit into this box, and it doesn't create that imagination and excitement once you move into those high school and college years. And I think we need to kind of emphasize that more to retain all these smart young people that could, create cures and problems that we have, whether it's, the environment or technological problems or energy problems or whatever the case may be. So, yeah.
First of all, I love the phrase that you used, feeding them the veggies of the information. I was like, I'm stealing that, first of all.
Yeah.
And second of all, it sounds like you have a very curious mind. And I bet you had a curious mind as a kid. And how did your family cultivate that because it definitely got you where you are today, I would say.
Yeah, they so I still remember as a kid I had this radio controlled car, remote controlled car, and I took it apart and took all the little motors out and whatnot, just trying to figure out how it all worked. And like a normal parent, they probably would have gone mad, hey, we just bought you this thing, why'd you break it? But they I still remember that as a kid, they were supportive of oh, interesting, well, now let's see if you could put it back together. They kind of challenged me, and I was. And so they always encouraged kind of those things, and they always coming from a first generation family, said that education was the key to success, and so they're very strict when it came to that kind of lane of things. But then they said, explore whatever you want to explore in those things, and there's the possibilities are endless. They never pressured me into hey, this is it's a stereotype, right? If you come from Asian families, you should be a doctor or engineer. They never pressured me into being one of those things, and kind of I actually double majored in poli-sci and biology, and I interned at the White House. I took a gap year, interned at the White House after college, and I had actually had a job offer at the end of that internship. And so it was a tough, so I was accepted to med school, had a job offer, and like at the time it was like a 50-50 decision. And my parents were like, yeah, do whichever one you think will make you happy. They weren't like, oh, you should definitely be a doctor or go to medicine or whatnot. They're like, yeah, if you want to stay in DC and do that, go for it. I'm glad I kind of went down the route that I did, especially with how crazy politics is these days. I couldn't imagine that being my livelihood. I would not want that. I would probably be going crazy. So
You'd be gone
but
by now, probably.
yeah, yeah. But it was and so I always like just explored different things and was curious about different things, and I'm still curious about different things, but I always like to joke. I was like, my ultimate like life goal would be like some like big company like Disney or Nat Geo just like embedding me into like different jobs for like a month or 6 months or whatnot. And they could be like I honestly am curious about like, you know, the trucks that pick up garbage. Like I think that's
Mhm.
like a cool job. Like how do those little machines work? Where do you take the trash? How those big centers work? Like I would do that for a month. Like if that could be like a thing where, you know, I could do it. And then next month do something, you know, like windmills. Like there's people that maintain those and the technical staff and putting those up. And so yeah, that I'm just curious about everything. And so that's probably why I do a whole bunch of random things, but I want to learn about every single thing that there is to learn about.
There was that old TV show, and by old I mean like I think early 2000s. It was Dirty Jobs. Do you remember that? The guy,
I
he
love that
always
show.
reminded me
Yeah.
of,
Yes.
yes, it was
Yeah.
so great. And he'd go and do everybody's job for like, oh, it's great. And my son also had an entire collection of garbage trucks and heavy machinery, like toys and stuff. So yeah, I've learned a lot about some heavy machinery in my life as a mom.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I
But
actually
yeah,
when
you
I
should
was
start your own dirty
it,
jobs.
well, when I was pitching the STEM city initially, it'd be hard to explain. So I'd be like, okay, this is basically dirty jobs for STEM. And so that was like my short explanation for that.
That totally
I
works.
would
It
totally
sounds
watch
like
that. Yeah.
me too. It sounds like you're like, what am I interested right now? I'm gonna create something out of it. Like that's just how your mind works. It's so fun. Mr. Okay, so you're very cool as a cucumber. I've tried to crack you a little bit, like a little smile here and there. But and you look cute, cool as a cucumber on all your interviews. What the heck are you afraid of? There's gotta be something.
Yeah. Oh man. I think so probably two things. One, kind of losing that curiosity about things because I like I mentioned, I'm excited about a lot of things. And so not being excited about like anything would not be fun. So like obviously not being excited about my job or the STEM stuff I'm doing or the social media stuff. And that I think that would be something that would, you know, I don't want to, I wouldn't want to be in that place, like not having that energy and excitement to tackle something where you're trying to fix a problem or build a company or whatever the case may be. I think that would yeah, that. And then I alluded to it, like a loved one like not being well or not being healthy and that kind of thing. So I think that would be at the top of the list, a loved one, you know, not being well or healthy, because you know, thankfully, knock on wood, hasn't happened to me like in my close knit family, and so I don't know how I'd react to that, how that would make me feel. So that would definitely be number one, and then number two, kind of professionally amongst all the things that we talked about, not being excited about those things.
Yeah.
On the long term. Now, don't get me wrong. There's definitely days where I'm like, I don't want to answer 20 text to Stacey emails and send
Yes.
That's just a normal
That's
part of like
real.
everything. That's totally real. I'm not saying I'm like 10 out of 10 excited about every single thing I do in every single one of these things.
You're not?
But as a as a broad thing, I'm excited about all the buckets of my life, and so yeah. The other thing I was gonna say is I think, and I've had conversations about this with like friends or other people working business and whatnot. I think it's okay to not go 10 out of 10 with everything that you do, right? So I will, you know, there'll be like a month or 2 weeks where the Texas safety front, I'm not giving it my all, and I know that, and I give my permission to do that. So in my professional life, like obviously the medicine if I'm there, it's always 10 out of 10. People's lives are at stake. That's a non-negotiable. The other stuff, whether it's the STEM stuff or Texas Tasty or some of the podcasts I do and whatnot, like I won't like I do a health tech podcast, and there'll be like times where I'm really excited about it and I put out 3 episodes in a month, and then there literally have been times where there's no episodes for 6 or 7 months, and I'm totally fine with that. And I think a lot of us, you guys are obviously creatives as well, we like put a pressure on ourselves to like be very regular, or like you have to do it no matter what. And I think it's okay to give yourself a break when you're feeling a little tired or a little burnt out. And I feel like not enough people say that. Because as long as because once again, I think the medicine gives me perspective, like that's very important. The other stuff that we do, like whether it's a podcast or a reel or whatever the case may be, it's no one's going to die. So it's okay if you miss an episode or miss a week or a month or 5 months.
Such a good perspective. You mentioned earlier vision boards. Do you do vision boards every year?
Her
Not
eyes
physical
turned
ones,
into
but
hearts
mental
when
ones.
you did that. When you
Yeah,
said vision
I
board,
have
I just saw her face go.
I was like, vision board.
I have a mental vision board of things. I don't have like a physical one. I'm not artistic enough.
It may or may not.
He will
be the
have
yearly
a
practice
vision
for
board
me.
class with you if you would like.
Yes.
You guys can build one
It
together.
It includes meditation in the beginning. I'm very serious about it.
You're talking about using your platform to discuss there's so many people out there that are spreading misinformation, and I think that we're a community that we just automatically will believe what we see and take it to truth and not research it because it's quick, it's there, it's easy. One thing that I try to focus on, I know my husband's the same way, is finding that neutral ground on news, on anything, taking everything with a grain of salt, because this is only one side. You can think one way and you can find 10 articles to prove your one way is correct and the other way is wrong, and back and forth. If somebody is truly questioning medical things, obviously they should go and see somebody or talk to their doctor. But is there anywhere that you would recommend just for an average person to go and kind of look maybe through, where they could say, is this factual or not, or get a little bit more in depth before they can talk to their doctor?
Yeah, so I would say, yeah, agreed, right? You can literally find some paper somewhere for anything, any claim that you make. And so it's hard. And so a few things. One, medical society. So like any specialty has a medical society. So like for emergency medicine, it's the American College of Emergency Medicine. For OB-GYN, there's a American College of Obstetrics and Gynecology, and that exists for every society. I think they all have like large advocacy arms and patient advocacy arms. And so I think going to them, and they are very close to the science, they are rooted in like cutting edge papers that come out, what is acceptable, what's not, what old treatments are not recommended anymore. And so going to their websites, going to their kind of patient advocacy sites, I think is a good place to start, where they are not going to have any motive other than the science. Obviously people are going to use AI, chat GPT, stuff like that. I would say if you're using AI, and that's, I mean, it's going to happen, right? We can't live as a medical community, we can't live in a box and say, oh, we're going to tell people not to do that. They've been using Dr. Google for 15 years. Now they're going to use Dr. GPT for the forthcoming future. So I would say use this is actually built for physicians, but you don't have to sign up or anything. You can go to it's called Open Evidence. And so it's basically exactly like ChatGPT. And what it does is you can ask it something medical and it'll give you a ChatGPT like response. But what it does is it cites every single source at the bottom.
Nice.
And it doesn't give you the answers based on what's on the internet. It gives you the answers based on what are in medical journals. And so once again, you're getting stuff from medical journals. And so Open Evidence is something that I've played around with. I'm a huge tech nerd, and so I'll be on shift and I'll be like, this is what I'm going to do. I wonder if this is confirmed by what Open Evidence will say. And so I'll ask it and be like, yeah, it's pretty much in line. And so I've been very impressed with it. Now, once again, you should never get your medical advice from AI or the internet or anything like that. But
what do you mean?
Knowing that, knowing that people will use websites and stuff like that, I would recommend those kind of two sources.
That's a good. We're
That's-
gonna link that. And if you have any other like patient advocacy, like go to websites, like we would love to link all of them in the show notes. That would be great.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah. I'm gonna definitely look into open evidence.
Me too.
Because Michelle learned she has a bunch of different new food allergies, so she plugged them all in. I mean, it's a lot too. So she'll be like, "Can I eat this?" And then ChatGPT will be like, "No, you
Mhm.
are highly reactive to pineapple." She's like,
Yeah.
"Oh yeah, I can have that."
I
Yeah.
forget there's so many on the list now. I found out I have asthma at the beginning of the year, so then I dove into my allergies, and then now it's like that's taken over my whole life.
Yeah. And especially, yeah, you're a foodie. I imagine that's tough as a foodie.
Yes.
Yeah.
Food is my love language. Like my husband
Yeah.
and I, like that is how we bond. And so I've
Yeah.
been on immunotherapy. I've graduated to once a month shots. So
Yeah.
I'm looking forward to eating on the reg again. I miss it so much.
We had a 30-minute text conversation in our group chat about pies today.
I know, and
Fell
I
asleep
avoided
for that.
it.
Well, now I have to ask, what's your favorite pies for each one of y'all?
It depends. Okay. I do love a good like apple pie with vanilla ice
Yeah.
cream. We did do so we at Thanksgiving I have tiny little pie pans and my son and I will make a pie flight of pie. So we'll make different pies. My husband loves buttermilk pie. There's some strawberries in there, delicious. And then one time I did a chocolate pecan pie and it had like all of the Caro like corn syrup. So it was basically a decadent and thick candy bar and probably gave me diabetes immediately. So,
Diabetes.
For a day. Yeah.
Diabetes. So I would say on day to day, it'd be like a nice apple or like a fruit pie for me.
Yeah. Nice.
Yeah, I'm
But ice
basic and
cream.
I'm proud of it. Pumpkin pie all the way. I have a maple bourbon whipped cream that I'll make from scratch, and or like a pumpkin pie cheesecake. I'll do that. But the more spices in it, the better for sure. How about you?
Pecan pie. I
Yeah.
love it.
Nice.
Pecan
I could
pie.
literally, yeah, I still remember in college for Thanksgiving, they would have like the nicest pecan pie. And I would literally, the day they had it, like before Thanksgiving or whenever they would, I literally wouldn't eat anything else. I'd just eat like 4 or 5 pieces. In hindsight, very bad for my health. Probably should have never done it. But yes, I was addicted to it.
I'll
Yeah.
make you a mini chocolate pecan pie for Thanksgiving this year.
There you go. I used to work at this place called Red Hot and Blue as a server, and they had pecan
Oh
cobbler,
yeah.
and I did not know. I would eat one every day. I was in college. I had no idea, and it turns out there was like
We had great
2,500 calories
metabolism.
in that. So
Yeah,
I
you
also
look.
go ahead.
I look back at like even a Snickers bar, and I used to be very unhealthy probably till college, like midway through college is when I became serious about my health. But before that, I would just like eat like normal stuff that everyone eats, and now I look back at a Snickers bar and I'm like, what? That is like 50 grams of sugar. Like I literally haven't had a Snickers bar in probably a decade just because of how insane the numbers of calories and sugar and fat that all of
Yeah.
these foods have, which is insane. Yeah.
Especially as a doctor, because now you like know all the things behind it.
Oh yeah, I like to joke. I'm like I see like all these heart attacks and strokes, and so like going to work every day is like scared straight for me. You know, you remember that show where they would like take the
Yes!
juveniles to jail? That's like going to work for me. I'm like I really have this craving for like this certain food, but no, I don't want to end up like that. So I'm gonna just keep my boring diet.
That's funny. Um, I was thinking about what is you're a doctor as an occupational frustration. My dad was a pilot, so he hated it when he would fly standby and be on vacation or something. And the flight attendant would always say, "Oh, he's a pilot," and then he wouldn't get any rest for the whole flight there.
Yeah.
So, like, what's your like occupational hazard kind of being a doctor when people find out?
Yeah, everyone just asking their medical questions, like at a non-medical setting, like with friends or whatnot. Everyone, like being, it's true. Like they'll be like, "Oh, this mole, is this skin cancer?" Or like, "What should I do about this?" Or well, all these questions, which is, I'm like, I'm not your doctor, no medical advice, nothing like that. I don't want you to sue me in like 10 years when I'm like, "Oh, it looks fine," and then it turned out to not be fine. But like I said, I like to compartmentalize things. So like when people do bring up the medical stuff, I'm like, I don't want to think about that. That's just that world. When I'm through those doors, I'm fully on. But when I'm not there, I'd rather not think about it. So, but yeah, I mean, I don't blame people. If I was sitting next to a pilot, I'd probably ask a lot of questions too. It's just, that's just the reality.
I'm always trying to be
Sorry.
cognizant of letting the person who is the professional, like, have their space to be able to do their job. Like when I'm at the hairdresser, I won't say anything. I'm not one of those chatty Cathys. I'm like, I want you to cut my hair with precision. Like I don't want
Yeah.
you to get distracted. So what can
What?
like we do? I know, me. I know. That's when I'm quiet. But what can we do to be better patients?
Yeah, I would say a lot of or not a lot, but some people come in and they'll be like, I need this test and I need this MRI, and yes, that they'll lead with that. And I think so I'm all about patients taking ownership of their health, of like asking questions and all that. I encourage all of that. But I would say let the doctor kind of do their exam, share their thoughts on what tests they may or may not want to order, what their treatment may be. And 90% of the time, by the end of it, you'll be like, that makes sense. And, it'll go well. But I think usually when a lot of people lead with like, hey, this is what I need. From a physician's point of view, it's like, okay, now you're just kind of telling me what to do. I'm not like, it kind of diminishes like all the training and the things. And a lot of time when we walk into rooms, we'll like look at your old records and history and have a good idea of what's going on, and we'll share that. We'll be like, oh, it looks like in 2018 when you had this ended up happening, so I'm worried this may be happening again, and we'll do this and this. And so obviously kind of going with all that, and at the end, if there's like, hey, would an MRI be helpful? Would this test be helpful? Ask those questions. And obviously it's your health, your body. You should be able the physician should be able to explain everything they're doing, why they're not doing certain things. And so I'm not saying like just sit there and be quiet, but let them kind of do their thing and then kind of have that conversation. And I think that kind of, from my perspective and speaking with colleagues, goes much better in terms of that being like a collaborative relationship and both parties kind of being on the same page and obviously getting you to feel better. But I think leading in with like, you're going to do this and this, automatically no human wants to be told you're going to, do this or be commanded to. And then it just creates a place where you're starting from almost a confrontational
Yeah.
place. Yeah.
Combative right away. And it's like, I'm here to help you. Like,
yeah.
Yeah. No, that's such a good point. I've had some good conversations with doctors because I just recently, like, I actually pay attention to myself, because before it was like I didn't know anything was wrong until I'm basically on fire. So I will, like, I've had good conversations with my doctors where I'm like, they'll ask me things. I'm like, what specifically are you looking for me? Because I don't know, like, what my symptoms are until you run through, like, if you think it's this, what are the symptoms of that? Because I'm not just going to go out and tell you.
Yeah.
And now I've actually, like, I have notes now where I have like all of my symptoms that I've ever had, because I'll go to the doctor and be like, I just don't remember. And now I have a medical journal that has like all of my doctors and my family history and my past doctor's visits, and what are the notes from that I'll take, and calendar and all that. And that has been like life-changing to organize. So I now like don't have to think about what medicine I'm on and what how do you pronounce it and spell it and all that.
Well, you're a model patient. I would encourage everyone to do that, especially when you're coming to the ER, where it's definitely going to be probably the first time I'm seeing you, and I know very little information about you. And when a patient gives me like that card of all their meds and their previous surgeries and everything, like I look at that, and within 10 seconds, I have like a really good idea of like your history and everything. But like you mentioned, if you don't remember like the 5 medications you're on and what that surgery was for, if it was your heart or your lungs, like could be anything. And so help me help you. And yeah, I would encourage everyone to do that because that is so helpful to us.
That was eye-opening for me too, and because I
Yeah.
reached out to my parents and I was like, what is your medical history? And we had never talked about it, like
Yeah.
never. And there was stuff on there. My mom has a blood disorder. I was like, what? Like, what do you have? Like,
Yeah.
you never told me this. So it's just crazy.
It's
how, like,
important.
people are just parents are just living their lives, but they don't think, oh, I need to make sure my kids know, this too, in case they need that information later on. It's just things that people don't think about.
Yeah, my mom just recently told me something about my grandmother, and oh yeah, she was on this every day of my life, and I'm like, that would be helpful to know since I'm currently going through issues that are similar to that. Thanks, Mom.
Yeah. I feel like that's another one of those things where as a society we don't talk about it enough, but like you said, it's so important knowing that history. And maybe a loved one is sick and they can't speak for themselves and a family member shows up and can provide that history. But if you don't know and your family member doesn't know, then it's kind of tough.
Yeah. And even like my aunts have had stuff. And then when I'm like, oh, my aunt has had this, and they're like, oh yeah, that is a possibility. It just helps the doctor. I feel like I have become the model patient this year.
You went from being the worst to
The worst.
because you didn't go
Head in the sand.
to being the
never go to
model.
doctor. Like,
I'm fine.
Yeah. I'm totally fine. Let me just walk it off. I'm totally fine. So okay, here's a pet peeve of mine. Why is it that like I see doctors mostly through like the UT health system, right? And there's an app and everything. And so why is it every time I have to see a doctor specialist that I have to put in the same exact information in the beginning about myself?
Yeah, I agree. It's really annoying and it's a pet peeve of mine as well. So one problem is we don't have like a national patient identifier system, which in my opinion we should have had a long time ago, like your social security number or things of that nature. And so because we don't have that, what happens is every hospital system and every doctor basically has their own records, and so everything's fragmented. So you could go to the hospital across the street and have had like a $10,000 workup the day before you show up to my hospital. I may not be able to see that. We may have to repeat a bunch of things. We have to ask a lot of the same questions over and over again, and it's really annoying. And so I think that needs to be fixed. And then, yeah, like you mentioned, you may be within the same system, but if you're seeing a different doctor within the same system, they're going to ask you all the same questions again. I think that's, it's unnecessary. What they should do is it's crazy to me. You still go to a doctor and they give you like a paper thing to fill out and check yeses or nos. Like it should be an iPad and it should have all the stuff from maybe like another specialist you'd seen within their system and say, hey, does this still appear correct? Are there new medical conditions or new medications maybe you started on? And that's just healthcare, unfortunately, being very traditionally slow to adapt technology and every aspect of healthcare. Because even though it may seem like the same health system, if you go to like their medical center location, it may have different affiliations and different kind of payment models compared to their community location. And they may not want to share that information, or their systems may still not be talking to each other. And so it's just mind blowing, especially when like I work in it and I'm like, why can't I see that happened at, the sister hospital for the hospital I work at? And that'll be the case so many times. And that's there's no good reason for it other than the system is very inefficient. The clinics or hospitals that have your data want to keep your data because that is valuable to them, and they don't want to share it with others. And when they do share it, their systems might not talk to each other. They may be using even like the inpatient, so like the hospital, if you're admitted, they may be using one electronic medical record system versus the clinic system. And so it's just so fragmented. And yeah, it hurts the patients. It makes us give less than ideal care. And yeah, it's something I'm very passionate about, and I talk about all the time that it needs to be fixed. And until I would say the financial incentives for these hospital systems and clinics are there to fix it, they're unfortunately just gonna kind of keep going at it.
Can you put that on your vision board next year?
Yeah, it'll require a little more than just little old me. But no, there's lots of people who know everyone knows it's a problem, everyone talks about it, but yeah, hopefully it'll get fixed. And obviously with AI and healthcare, lots of things are kind of being improved, streamlined. AI is smart, so it can kind of break through some of the barriers between the electronic medical record systems and kind of unify them. And a lot of these things get coded, right? So like you mentioned asthma, like it may say asthma is the billing code for that is like I010. I'm just making this up. And then it might say asthma variant, like frequent exacerbations or like mild. And that even though it's basically the same disease, it'll have a different billing code. So it'll look like as a different diagnosis. And so using AI to kind of cut through all of that kind of clutter, and like, yeah, it's important that it's documented that you have a certain variant of asthma or a certain type of asthma, but for the sake of like you coming to the hospital system, it is asthma. So like as an ER doc, it doesn't matter to me like what subvariant you have. Asthma is asthma, and maybe AI can kind of help kind of declutter some of those things. Now, if you're going to your allergist and a specialist and you're on your third different iteration of medication to kind of treat your subvariant of asthma, that is important to them. So yeah, they should have that information. But kind of using hopefully AI and kind of newer technology to kind of break through some of those barriers where it makes our lives easier and patients' lives easier.
That's so true.
Wow, I didn't know it was that like chaotic, I guess, in the records side of things. It's crazy to think about that's where we're at still. That we're not,
and
communicating as well.
yeah, it was such a missed opportunity because the electronic medical records are fairly new, like they're post 2010, and it's the last 15 years, and everyone basically created their own system and they don't talk to each other, and all the data is siloed, and deselling that's going to take so much work. And if we had just kind of the laws that they had passed at that time, and I'm sure they weren't thinking about it because hindsight's 2020, if it had kind of mandated that, hey, all these systems need to talk to each other, we wouldn't have this problem.
It's funny, my psychiatrist is not in the UT health system, and so I'll go and I'm like, oh, we sent you a message through the platform. I was like, yeah, I can't keep up with platforms anymore. Like that's why I stick to one place. Like you're gonna have to call me, sorry. Like I have so many apps on my phone, and now like each doctor has their own app, and it's just wild. And then why does it take so long to get into the dermatologist or the cardiologist or a neurologist? I know you're an emergency room doctor. I'm taking all my frustration out on you, which is unwarranted, and that is fine. But dang it, like we have a friend who had a stroke a couple months ago. He can't see a neurologist until November.
He's going to my neurologist September, but and that was the earliest he could get in, and he had his stroke in March, and so I connected him to them in March, and then everyone else was like November. So it's just all specialties are hard to get into. Are we missing people? Do we not have enough that specialize?
And I was told, we don't have universal health care because Canada, you wait 10 million years for an appointment. It's like, no, I do that now and I pay out the wazoo anyway.
Exactly.
I can stop.
Yeah, no, that's the problem. We just don't have enough of all types of doctors. And primary care, we obviously don't have enough of, but specialists as well. We just simply don't have enough. And how it works in the US is basically, and don't quote me on all the exact statistics for this, but basically Medicaid is how residency programs are funded. And those numbers really haven't been expanded since like 1996. And so basically the number of doctors that residency programs for like neurology or fellowship programs for cardiology or whatever the case may be are the same. Now, if you have private dollars and foundations, sure, you can create programs and whatnot, and that's how they have grown over the last few decades. But that's obviously not going to meet the needs of like an entire country. And so then what you have is just these insane wait times, and people end up having to go to the ER and they get like worse decompensation of their chronic conditions. And we try to bandage them up and then they just kind of get in queue again. And so, yeah, like you alluded to, people are like, oh yeah, in Canada or wherever they have universal healthcare in Europe, they are like, oh, the wait time for like a knee replacement's like 8 months. It's like, yeah, it's basically the same here. Or you're like really rich and you have like the best insurance, and sure, you could get it quicker. But for like the average person, that and that's what people compare it to, right? People, like the average American will kind of cite something because they've heard it on the internet or on the news or whatnot. And yeah, we do have the best healthcare system if you're really rich and privileged and you can afford for all of afford all the insane stuff in like the Texas Medical Center. But if you're the average person, your outcome is worse than it is in Canada or Norway or all these other places, even places like Cuba, right? And so it's everyone just likes to think like, hey, if this were to happen to me, I would be the exception, or I would get the best care. And the truth is, you would get better care if you're in these other systems versus our systems. And it's just unfortunate because then, as scientists and as a medical community, we've done a very poor job of communicating facts. And but that is the fact. And so it do we have the best cutting edge stuff? Yes. Do we have the best care for the average person? No.
Well, and you just said something that residents are dependent upon Medicare, right?
Yeah. Yeah. And
that's
we're
getting
obviously
cut.
cutting
That's
those
cut.
programs. Yeah.
Like,
Well, and I think there's been numerous news articles that I've seen where like residency programs that were supposed to open are not going to open now, or they've had to cut their class size, or even some medical schools have cut their medical school class sizes. And so, yeah, it's unfortunate.
well, and then like student loans are now capped, like that you can't get a student loan for how much it costs to become a doctor nowadays. So it's
Correct.
like, this is only going to get worse. Is that what you're telling me? Now I'm scared.
Yeah, no, I wish I had good news, but that's totally correct. So what's going to happen is, so for me, med school cost $220,000. I loaned all of that, and thankfully those loans existed. But now it's capped at 100, and everything beyond that, you have to get. You either it'll be very difficult to get, or it's going to be private loans that are very predatory with insane interest rates and whatnot. And so what that also does is we have a huge primary care problem in the country, right? So there's no like family medicine doctors or internal medicine doctors. And so then when you get these insane amounts of debt, you may want to go into specialties that pay more. And nothing against, like dermatologists. We definitely need dermatologists. There's still a shortage of dermatologists, but you may be like, hey, I could make like, a third more or 2 times more if I become a dermatologist. And people want to kind of seek these specialties or subspecialties where they can make more. And then there's going to be a lack of things like psychiatrists or primary care physicians or OBs. And so it's just going to make the problem worse. Less people are going to be able to go to med school. It's going to be kind of more the well off. And then even if you go there, you're going to want to obviously be able to pay your debt off. So you're going to go into specialties that pay more, which is going to kind of skew away from specialties that we have a need for. And yeah, so I wish I could say it's going to be better, but yeah, US healthcare is a mess right now.
I mean, not to sound more doomsday here, but we are talking about fears, right? And so with the cuts to Medicaid, that in turn will make our bills even more expensive because people will get kicked off of Medicaid. And so they'll go in uninsured. And so then the hospital bills get crazy. They can't pay their bills. OPS, a law was just passed where your health care on your credit actually hurts you now. It does it before it didn't. That's new. I just got that alert. And so it's just, yeah, I'm freaked out. Sorry. Like I didn't mean to go down this like dark hole, but it's like you don't realize how much, it's weird. It's like the healthcare system is fragmented, but it's like you impact one thing and it's like all the pins fall down, like
It's a
in
Rubik's
bowling or
cube
something.
of everything.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. I mean,
I have a-
like with Medicaid, obviously people are going to get kicked off, so they're still going to show up to the ERs, right? They're going to have to go to the ER. We'll take care of them. They're going to be able to pay their bill. The hospital's still going to want to get paid, and so they're going to just negotiate higher rates for their other patients with the insurance companies. They're going to pass those on in premiums to insured patients, and like you mentioned, it's all connected. And so it's just so frustrating when people, like, I'll see online, they'll be like, well, I'm not on Medicaid, whatever, it's not going to affect me. Yes, it's going to affect you. And when you go to the ER, it's going to be way busier and you're going to wait longer because there's going to be more people at the ERs. And so, yeah.
You know, we were going on about the different types of specialties that are out there, and oh, you could make this much more in the specialty versus this. Like, you chose to be an ER doctor. Like, what pulled you to that versus, you know, going into a specialty? Because I think there's something special about ER doctors.
Yeah. So, I mean, it is exciting, right? There's something exciting, maybe like the pain of like not knowing what's going to come in the door, but like you go to work and there's no schedule. Anything can come in the door, could be any patient from, you deliver a baby to someone who's 85 on their deathbed and everything in between. And so that excitement of like, you don't know what you're going to see that day, and you're going to be able to use your problem solving skills and training to tackle those, that there's an excitement to that. And then on top of that, I am someone who I like to fix a problem, and then kind of once the boring, in my opinion, boring stuff starts, I pass it on to the internal medicine doctors who are really good at that. And so someone comes in and they have like, they cut themselves and there's like a massive bleed that's coming out, some blood squirting out of their arm. I can fix that really quick, and then maybe they'll need surgery to like do some minor cosmetic repairs or whatnot, and that'll take like 2 or 3 days, and they'll be admitted, and the other specialists can do that. And so I love the fact that I get to like see a patient and they may be really, really sick and not doing well, and very realistically could die if no intervention was made in the next few minutes or hours. And I can make that intervention, I can do the things, stabilize them, and then you get that satisfaction of like, hey, I helped this person, I fixed this person. And then the other specialists and doctors can kind of take on kind of the more slower kind of chronic care of that condition. And then I also love that we are the front door of the healthcare system. And so we have to see everyone because of a law called EMTALA, which I love. And so I never have to like call insurance companies and ask them for permission for like, hey, can I order this CT scan, or can I order this blood test? It's as long as I'm ruling in or ruling out an emergent medical condition, I can order it, and insurance will cover it because it's in that emergent setting. And so I love the fact that I don't have to be on the phone with insurance companies or arguing with them or anything like that. I can, even if you have
why the truth comes out.
No, my insurance is like, no, you don't need that MRI. No, you don't need that CT scan. I'm like,
Just go to the emergency room.
I'm glad you went till that.
Dr. Owais Durrani got you.
Yeah.
Yes. My neurologist is like, I love that I went to medical school for them to tell me I don't need to get this for you.
Yeah, it's ridiculous.
It's insane.
I did not mean to cut you off. Sorry. You can totally finish your thought. I just got excited about the joke I was going to say. I probably just cut you off completely. Oh, that was it? Okay, good. I don't know.
I just end. I'm not a good ender on things sometimes.
Yeah, I have a lightning round for you. It's our curiosity corner rapid fire. We just started it a few episodes ago.
Okay.
All right. So you flew in an F-18 with the Blue Angels. How the heck did that happen?
So that was for my show STEM City, and we had there was this really nice PR person who had we had done an episode with the Thunderbirds, the Air Force's kind of demonstration unit the year before for the Houston Air Show, and so she reached out this last year, and she was like, any chance you'd want to fly with the Blue Angels? I was like, it's literally like #1 on the bucket list kind of thing. So of course I said yes. I think I said yes before I even realized what I was saying yes to, and so I was definitely a little nervous that morning, but it's the coolest thing I've ever done. I would do it every single day if I could. If 18-year-old me had done it, I'd probably be like, I want to go into the Air Force or Navy and fly these for a living. That's how cool it was.
And how long were you passed out for?
Probably like 10 seconds or so. And the funny thing is I didn't know I had passed out. So I was like bragging to all my friends, family. Like after I got off, I was like, oh yeah, I don't think I passed out one. And then when I was reviewing the footage, I was like, oh wow, I did pass out.
I did.
The cool thing is a lot of times we'll get like patients in the ER, well, they'll like fall, hit their head, and I'll ask them, hey, did you pass out? And they won't be able to tell me if they did or not. And I always like internally was like, how do you not know if you passed out? And after that experience, I stopped judging them. I'm like, oh wow, that was me. And you really don't know if you passed out. You just feel like groggy and a little confused, and you there's no like signal that says you passed out. So yeah.
Well, there you go.
I'm pretty sure I would
you're putting
throw up.
yourself in your patients. Yes, you throw up. She threw up at Dollywood.
I did. I rode 3 roller coasters and then I hid in a bush and threw up. I don't drink. I don't do anything like it's just motion sickness. Like I have to be the driver or I'll throw up.
Well, the funny thing is, sorry, I know this is rapid fire, but
No,
I'll say
you're
this
good.
one thing. So our
No.
episode this last month was at Galveston at Pleasure Pier, where they have like a few roller coasters and whatnot. And I honestly didn't sit in any of the roller coasters. I'm terrified of the roller coasters just in general. And so it's weird. Like I would, in a heartbeat, sit in an F-18 again. I'd probably go to space. Yeah, I'd probably go to space if someone offered me that chance to go to space. But roller coasters, I can't do them. I don't know what my issue is there. But
So AI in medicine, you brought it up earlier. What should patients never trust AI with? I think I saw that somewhere in your Instagram feed, and I feel like my AI bot is pretty biased. It's very
Mine is very supportive.
I think so I think it's like, okay, like maybe if you have like acid reflux, right? And you ask it like, hey, is coffee gonna make it worse or better? Like if it gives you the wrong advice there, it's not gonna kill you. It's just gonna give you bad acid reflux for an afternoon. I wouldn't ask it about anything that would, be a matter of life and death, right? Like asking it like, hey, I'm having some chest pain. Could this be a heart attack? And in the off chance that it gives you a wrong answer, it hallucinates, that could obviously be your life. And so anything that is, if it crosses your mind, like, should I go to an ER? Should I seek a doctor? The right answer is go seek a doctor, go do that. Anything else that is like, like that example I gave of acid reflux or, something that is not going to kill you, something basic, fine, ask it. It's not going to harm anything. And maybe it teaches you that AI is not 100% right, but yeah.
What do doctors do when
What
they
could
get
I eat
sick?
for dinner tonight?
What do
Doctors
do?
are probably the worst patients. They
I was gonna
probably
say.
call their colleague and ask them to call them in a Z-Pack or something.
Hey, bro.
Chefs are the worst to cook for. We just eat like popcorn for dinner. So
Yes, true.
yeah.
How can we show appreciation for people in the medical industry? Because you guys do so much all the time. And so what are the best ways to do that?
I mean, I think it's simple. It's just treating us like humans. I'm not sure if y'all have seen the show The Pit. It's really, going viral, getting a lot of traction. I think it got nominated for a bunch of Emmys, but the show does a really good job of, and I think everyone should watch at least an episode of it, of portraying what life in the ER is like and the challenges that these staff members face, like in their personal lives and whatnot. And so I think it applies to like everything. It's not just doctors, right? It's like servers at a restaurant, the person taking your order and whatnot. Like every single human's going through like their own insane amount of challenges. And like I think whether it's at a restaurant or an ER, we expect the people on the other side to like be like these robots that are there to like tend to your every single need, just treating them as a human. And so I think it's just not isolated to medicine, but like every single thing, whether it's checking in at the airport and the person checking you in, or at a restaurant or at an ER or a nurse there, whatever the case may be, treating them as a human, knowing that they have their own challenges and they're doing their best to help you. Because I know for most of us, but like definitely in medicine, everyone went into it because they want to help people and do the right thing and do something positive, and they put a large chunk of their life on hold. And I promise you, they're not there to, ignore you or get out. And especially like if you're like if you have a like if you wait in the ER for a long time, or it takes a while to do something, they're probably in the room next door. Like someone's probably dying, someone probably got shot, someone probably has cardiac arrest. They may have just walked out of their room, and yes, your problem of maybe getting like a skin cut or a skin infection, yes, it's very important to you, but like they may not, you know, have been there 10 minutes ago because they were dealing with something where someone lost their life or something. And so I think just keeping that perspective in mind and treating everyone as a human would go a long way.
Amen. Just be kind at the end of the day. Life is too hard enough.
I do have one thing. I'd like to know what your high, low, in Buffalo is being
Here it is.
on
There it
the
is.
podcast
Yes.
with us. Yeah.
So my high is just like how the giggly, like the happiness, the energy. It's always nice to see people that are just, you know, smiling and, you know, excited about what they're doing and excited about um, you know, life. And so definitely the high. I think we don't show enough excitement just in general on a day to day. And as I kind of alluded to, I'm curious about everything, excited about everything, and so it's excited to see others excited about something they're doing. My low, I mean, this isn't really low. I feel like this is just a sign of me being old. So I took a nap this afternoon, and my trapezius is like really, I kid you not, hurting. And so this whole
Oh,
time I've been
no.
just trying to like be like, oh, don't think about it, and kind of pushing it back. And so I think I'm officially old, where taking a nap can make you hurt. And then
Welcome to old age.
yes, yes. And Buffalo, let's see. I love in particular both of you, how you all are curious about being better patients, about it's what's the word for it? I like to hear that, you know, from a patient perspective, from people who interact with the healthcare system, they want to know about it. They want to know about how they can be better patients, or how better to use the system and whatnot. Because a lot of times you think people don't care or whatnot. So it's interesting to know that that kind of thought and frame of mind exists from the other side, as you all obviously are customers of the healthcare system, patients of the healthcare
Yes, we
system.
are.
So that's interesting. Yeah. And we all are. We all are. But
Frequent.
yeah. But when you're obviously on the other side of it, providing healthcare, you don't always think about the other side of things. So it's definitely interesting.
Yeah, that's what we talked about the most, is, you know, making sure we bridge that gap to understand the other side, because that's what it really every episode comes down to the language and communication that happens between the different sides. And
Yeah.
so that's what we really wanted to hone in on. And we have more questions, but you have dinner and you need to go have dinner, because if you stay with us, we'll keep you another hour, and you don't want that in your life. So
Nobody
Hey,
needs that.
once y'all are like on, you know, in a year or 2 years or 3 years, we could do a catch up and
totally will.
keep the conversation
Yes.
going.
Yes, we would love to.
Love
And
it.
then
I'm
we'll get
self-inviting
input and
myself
everything.
in the next few years.
I love that.
Done. Come on. You are welcome to
Awesome.
come aboard.
Well, thank you again. Thank you for being our fan. We're a fan of you, and keep doing what you're doing. And just thank you from the bottom of our hearts for being a part of this.
No, yeah, absolutely.
Thank you so much.
Thanks for the invite. Always good seeing you, Michelle. Nice meeting you, Whitney. Hopefully we can meet in person at some point. And
Yes.
Absolutely.
please, yeah, and please tag me and whatnot. And anytime this comes out, happy to amplify and share anytime.
Awesome. Well, thank
Absolutely.
you guys.
Thank you for listening to Use Your Fear podcast. Rate us.
You can watch full episodes on YouTube, listen on all major podcast platforms, and support us on Patreon for additional cutting room floor footage. Follow us on all social media and visit our website at useyourfear.com to connect. Or if you've got a fear story to share, we'd love to hear from you. Please share and support so we can continue to have these meaningful conversations so others know they aren't alone.
Have a great day. Have a great day. Bye. Bye.